Here are 10 players trending up in fantasy football. Number 1, Jackson Smith-Njigba. In week 9, he caught 7 of his 13 targets for 180 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 37 fantasy points. Week 10 was the bye. Then he returned in week 11 to catch 10 of his 11 targets for 110 yards, 8 rushing yards, 21.8 fantasy points. Heavy volume plus production with yardage upside in JSN's last 2 games. Number 2, Chase Brown, 26.7, then 22.4, then 19.3 fantasy points across the last 3 weeks. 120 rushing yards in week 9, then 52 and 57 receiving yards in weeks 10 and 11. 5+ catches in the 3 last games played, 27 and 22 rushing attempts in weeks 9 and 11. Workhorse, productive running back, RB2 across the last 3 games. Number 3, Justin Herbert, 24.06, 19.48, 19.76, and 24.38 fantasy points the last 4 weeks. 7 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown during this span. 279, 282, and 297 passing yards weeks 8, 9, and 11. 49 and 65 rushing yards weeks 8 and 11. Major production for fantasy football as the quarterback 6 across the last 4 weeks. Number 4, Jerry Jeudy, trended from 12.9 to 14.3 to 26.2 fantasy points the last 3 games played. 11 targets in both of his last 2 games played is solid volume. 79, 73, and 142 receiving yards the last 3 weeks played. A touchdown in week 11. The talent is finally popping with Jameis Winston at quarterback. Number 5, Jauan Jennings, 16.3 and 25.1 fantasy points the last 2 games played. 11 targets in both of these 2 games with 17 total catches. 93 and 91 receiving yards the last 2 with a touchdown in week 11. Heavy volume and solid production is making Jennings a great flex option moving forward. Number 6, Courtland Sutton, 17.12, 23.28, 19, and then 14.8 fantasy points the last 4 weeks. He's been well targeted, and he's finished with 100, 122, 70, and 78 receiving yards during this span of 4 games. Sutton is the wide receiver 4 across the last 4 weeks, displaying a great connection with rookie Bo Nix. Number 7, George Pickens, 22.1, 11.4, and I put in the note, he had a touchdown call back that game, 20.5, and then 16.9 fantasy points across the last 4 games played. 111, 74, 91, and 89 receiving yards during the span, along with 2 touchdowns. 12 targets in week 11 was a season high and a great sign. He looks very solid with Russell Wilson at QB. Number 8, Austin Ekeler, 17.3, 18.1, and then 17.6 fantasy points the last 3 weeks, RB7 during this span. 3 rushing touchdowns in games of 41 and 89 receiving yards in this 3-week sample shows mixed upside. A season-high 8 receptions in week 11 is definitely worth noting and flashes his past. Number 9, Joe Burrow, QB1 for fantasy across the last 3 weeks with scores of 30.1, 33.7, and then 29 points. Week 9, 251 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. Week 10, 428 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Week 11, 356 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. So much upside through the air. T. Higgins is back to have that duo wide receiver room with Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow looks like the MVP right now, if only the Bengals would win games. And at number 10, I'm throwing in Derek Carr. I'm giving this guy respect because the Saints are banged up, and he's had 2 good games in a row, 20.46 and 18.72 fantasy points. That's without Chris Olave. Rashid Shaheed's been out for most of the season. In Week 10, 269 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. In Week 11, 248 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He hits a bye week in Week 12, but I think there's some streaming potential down the road in the future now. My kids are asleep. It's late night. I'm in my basement. So be sure to like, follow, subscribe, share, whatever. I'd really appreciate it. But I'm always here with the intention to help you guys play to win. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video.